Good evening, everyone. Uh, Thank you for joining us for the DigiConnect episode 6, Securing Your Digital Footprint, Understanding and Mitigating Spam and Targeted Attacks. I am Vishwa, your moderator for this session today, and we are excited to have you here as we explore the hidden world of spam, phishing, and targeted attacks, and share the practical ways to protect your online presence. And before we start, this session will run for an hour, and there will be a Q&A session at the end. Uh, but you can drop your questions at any time, so we can address it at the end again. Um, so our presenter today is Abdullah Azoor, a senior cloud engineer level 3 from Digital Team. He has he has extensive experience in cybersecurity and cloud infrastructure, with strong focus on helping businesses stay protected against evolving cyber threats. And he will share his expertise on how spam and targeted attacks works in the real world examples and scenarios to show you how to build a stronger and safer digital presence. Abdullah, over to you.
Okay, thank you very much, Vishwa. I really appreciate that introduction. So hi everyone, I am Azur. I'm the guy that you see on the screen right there, of course. So very quickly, I have done not a whole lot, but I've done quite a considerable amount of security projects here in Sri Lanka. Some of which may be considered some of the largest in that specific area for with regards to Microsoft Defender for Endpoint specifically. So I've done many projects in Microsoft Defender for Endpoint. Today's session will not be just for Microsoft Defender for Endpoint, which is my bread and butter to some extent, but I have left the door open for that in later slides. Today, in the first half, what I'm doing is I'm planning actually to do something like a something for everyone, basically. Where, for example, I don't want this to be purely full of technical jargon, full of things that people may or may not understand, or a small subset of people will understand. I want this to help people who are normal salespeople, HR people, administrative people, people who make decisions, and people, anybody with a phone, actually. All right. Let me explain as I go along in the next couple of slides. And later on, I'll get to some amount of technical things, not too much, because as you might already know, going into technical aspects will take a long period of time, especially if you're going to save settings and do demonstrations, which we will obviously not be doing. From previous experiences, it takes a long time. Okay, so on to the next slide. Right. Now, for those of you who are thinking that we are going to discuss what kind of threats and all those things that we are going to go through, there's a whole story time. Actually, there's about 4 stories that I have come across that I'm going to share with you from my personal life experience with more than 12 years of work experience. But you should know that some possible alternative titles for today's episode, DigiConnect, episode 6, are the following. So one is Adventures in IT Security Damage Control. Okay. Another one would be Confessions of an IT Security Professional. The third one would be Latest IT Disaster Trends and How to Avoid Them. And fourthly, Why you need to take your IT security seriously, which is pretty much the main focus of this talk, actually. Most people don't take their IT security seriously enough. So I'll show you some stories as to why you need to take it seriously. Right. In today's agenda, mostly I'm going to talk about 4 stories. 4 case. It's not. I don't like to call them case studies. These are actual real life incidents that happened. I took part in them. I was involved in, to some extent, handling them, and I learned a lot of lessons from them, which I follow in my personal life. And some of these gems might actually help you in your personal life as well. Before I go on to the next couple of slides, let me just tell you, I have put certain kinds of illustrations and pictures. None of those are of real, actual people that I have helped or any of the clients that I've handled. Okay, these are just stuff that I just Googled randomly. It looks similar to the issue that I was handling, so I grabbed it off the internet and I just put it on the slide. So don't worry about anything. There's no personal information of anyone out there, of my clients or anyone's clients. No one's identity is going to be revealed here. Okay. individual or of companies. Right. So the first story is a story about ransomwares. The second story is about SMS phishing. Now I didn't want to go through the whole like email phishing. Everybody knows that, right? I wanted to bring it up a notch and I wanted to talk to you more about SMS phishing because it's become a very annoying prevalence here in Sri Lanka. It's very annoying. Okay, I got so annoyed. I'll tell you what I did about it in the next couple of slides when you get to the story, but it's become so annoying. Thirdly, there was a QR code email phishing, which is actually phishing, but it's not the usual kind. It's not the normal kind that you would find or you would come across on a day-to-day basis. And I'm sure security professionals or security admins, cloud admins come across these kinds of situations and scenarios all the time on a daily basis. But this was a bit different. So I'm going to explain that. Finally, I'm going to talk to you about an incident that occurred to a senior manager in a very important company, how his smartphone got hacked and all his personal bank accounts got hacked by extension. Okay. So once again, no personal details are revealed of anyone or any entities or businesses. These are just random, pictures that I took off from the internet. The stories have been masked, and I've changed certain things here and there as well. So you will not know who it is anyway. Right. Next. Okay. Here's what I want you guys to tell me and what I want you to focus on. So when it comes to personal safety tips, we all know what MFA is. We all know what digital banking is. We all know that we need to have a cell phone when we do all these kinds of things. There is, for a long time, there's been a different kind of mentality since, especially for a long time. I think it was before Ronald Reagan. I think there was a Russian proverb or Russian saying that said, trust but verify. So apparently, this Russian historian or linguist or something, she mentioned it to Ronald Reagan, and Reagan started using it with regards to nuclear disarmament and all that sort of thing. So the saying is trust but verify. You'll notice in this saying, the trust part comes before the verify. You trust someone, but then later on you go and verify this person. Now, this is a problem because you are trusting someone before verifying anyone. Okay? So now there's such a thing known as zero trust architecture. We'll talk about it. Microsoft as a whole has embraced zero trust architecture, as has many other security vendors. Most people don't realize that Microsoft is actually a security vendor. And if you look at Microsoft Defender for Endpoint, it's actually number 2 on Gartner's Magic Quadrant the last time I looked. Okay, so the 3 principles of zero trust architecture are here. I've mentioned it here. Verify explicitly. Always authenticate and authorize based on all available data points. You understand? All data points. So, and another thing is you have to use you must use the least privilege access. You have to limit access to people, what they know, how they know. For example, a random person on the street or some guy who calls you up and asks you for your NIC number, you shouldn't give it to him. Just to be very honest, I kid you not, just less than 2 hours ago, someone called me on my phone, and this individual knew my name. Okay, because I had purchased something from that store. And she asked me and called me and said, "Sir, is now a good time to speak to you?" I said, "Who is this and why are you calling me?" And she says, "Well, we just wanted to go through a certain survey." And in all honesty, I didn't have the time because I was creating these slides. But you have to understand that when you get a call from an unknown number and someone calls you by name and asks you, "How are you doing? Are you free at this moment?" It's a bit suspicious. So likewise, and when they ask you for certain kinds of information about you, you should be very careful in when and how you share this information as well. So that's what zero trust architecture is all about. You verify explicitly who this person is, what they're supposed to do, and all that sort of thing. Even when you do trust this person into your environment, into your life, whatever personal safety or company safety, you give them only the amount of privileges that they need. For example, if they need to do a change and they can do that change with, let's say, Intune administrator access, you don't need to give them global administrator access. Okay, you don't need to give them global administrator access. They can make do with Intune administrative access. And the final one, and this is actually based on common sense, you have to assume a breach rather than thinking, "Oh no, it's fine. I probably didn't get hacked." You have to assume that you got hacked, and it's better that you call your bank or your financial institutions and try and see if to try and secure accounts. For example, one really good example would be that time that I lost my debit card. Okay. And rather than thinking, oh, probably no one's using it, as soon as I noticed that it was missing, I called my bank and I told them block the card. In fact, certain banks in the IVR, when you're going through the IVR, press one if you've lost card. So, so that was one thing. The first time in our life that I actually pressed one on that. So I had lost my card, and immediately it was picked up, and then I managed to block the card. Unfortunately, no money was lost. But so anyway, moving right along, you have to first and foremost is that we need to change our brain's attitude towards security. We need to verify and trust, not trust but verify. Okay, trust. The trust part comes first, then you go and verify. Here, actually, and that's what we as Sri Lankans, that's what we used to do in previous occasions, right? We trust and then we verify. Okay, someone came to the office. He said that he was about to do something. No, before you let him come to the inside the office and inside the server room, you have to verify, is this guy legit? You have to call that company, ask him, is this person who he is? Take his NIC. Is this correct? All that sort of thing. So we have to change our mindset with regards to how we are using our banking apps. Where do you get your MFA for banking transaction verifications? How much money will you lose if your bank account is compromised? These are things that you need to do. These are things like you need to do a small damage assessment. If the answer is, if there is a breach in your banking security, and the answer to this question, how much money will you lose if your bank account is compromised, is all your money, then you have a big problem. We'll discuss that in future slides. So do you have another question? Do you have different accounts just to perform online and POS transactions? So POS is point of sale transactions. It's where you just give your card and, the girl or the guy, he'll swipe it and then he'll give it back to you after the transaction is complete. What do you do in case you get hacked? Do you have a damage control plan? Do you have a recovery plan? That's important. Another thing is, do you install security updates to your computer or mobile device regularly? For those of you who don't know, I'm sure lots of people already know this, but Microsoft releases patch updates called monthly roll-up updates every single month. On the second Tuesday of every month, it's called Patch Tuesday. So most people don't install that. Most people are not, unfortunately, they don't even want to update the Edge browser. And this is something that you've already paid for, assuming that you paid for the operating system, right? Which, of course, you have to do. And, they don't update these. There are certain things that are outside of our control. For example, zero-day vulnerability, zero-day hacks. All of these things are things that are out of our control. But installing basic things like security updates or updating your mobile device, these are things that we can do, but we don't. And in these next couple of slides, I'm going to show you what are the consequences of doing that. Okay. So the first story is a story about ransomware. So it's ransomware story time. Right. So I'm trying to keep it simple here because I'm not sure what kind of a mix of an audience we have here. We might have people who are very new to IT or not IT savvy from HR or IT or admin. And there might be some guys who know pretty much even more than me. You never know. So, but I'm trying to keep it simple here. So basically, very simply, as everybody knows, as many people know, ransomware is any malicious program that encrypts a system and personal files in your computer, making you unable to access your files unless and otherwise you have paid a ransom, usually in cryptocurrency, Bitcoin, because this way it's untraceable, right? So you'll see an illustration over here. This is not an issue that I handled, but it was very similar to an issue that I did handle. So here's the story. So once upon a time, I'm minding my own business and I get a urgent call from an urgent client, and he says, Azoor, we've got hacked. Okay, and this is a very important company, and I can't tell you obviously, but and he said we've got hacked. Well, I can see the ransomware message. He says, "Can you connect?" And the admin, he says, I still remember it. He says, "Can you connect to the PC and take a look?" I said, "If actually it is a ransomware, if I connect to the computer, my computer is going to get ransomware." Okay. So that's one of the things that you have to keep in mind. One of the first things that you should do when you're facing any kind of disaster is to contain the situation. You have to minimize the damage as much as possible. So I told him, Mr. XYZ, please pull out the network cable and disconnect wireless access to that computer. So that could also mean like the wireless does not auto connect. So I told him to disable that setting as well, and he did. So fortunately, in this whole story that I'm narrating to you, the total number of breaches, the total number of affected computers is just one. Okay. And spoiler alert, it turned out to be a 0-day attack. So it was 0-day vulnerability, and we had to get Microsoft involved. We had to create a special ticket to get Microsoft involved, and that's how we handled it. So, right. So let me, so what, after I confirmed that it was it was something similar to this, so where it's just asking you to decrypt your files and give money to him so that he will decrypt it. I mean, there's absolutely nothing that we can do here, unless there are really just two options that we can do here, actually. One is you pay the ransom, which you should never ever do. Because if you pay the ransom, you never know if they'll actually give you back the money. There are instances, if you check online, where certain users, because they had absolutely no choice, certain hospitals and companies, they had paid the ransom and it did not get decrypted. So the files didn't get decrypted. And sometimes even when they did get decrypted, the same hacking team encrypted the files again and demanded them to give another ransom. So basically, the ransomware has become something else. It's become extortionware. And sometimes, even if the first hacking team leaves you alone, there could be other hackers out there who also already know about the vulnerability. So they could target you as well, and then you get ransomware the second time. So just let me be very clear: do not pay the ransom under any circumstances at all. Okay. Um, Right. And so the story goes like this. A user had used his office computer to download certain files. Okay. Certain pirated files, certain pirated TV shows, popular TV shows that you find on cable or whatnot. And he had got this 365 megabyte file, and it had downloaded, and it had come in a zip file. So he had extracted the file, and then he had watched, it's part of a series, apparently it's a TV series, so episode something of series season something, watched it, and then he went to sleep. And next day morning, he brings the computer Monday morning, he plugs it in, he starts the computer, and lo and behold, it's this ransomware. So then that's where I took it over from. So I started looking into this. How exactly had this happened, and how exactly he had used this? How exactly he had downloaded this file? Because we had put certain safeguards put in place for him to not pirate certain kinds of files and all that kind of thing. So he had found an innovative way of how to do it. Believe it or not, it was an IT guy, so he was somewhat IT savvy. So he was able to find a certain what do you call setting which we had not implemented yet. So we were implementing security settings and security protocols and configurations in that company, and we were still in the early stages of doing that. So we had not gone to that level, and we had not even taken out the old security system that the company was using. So it was still going on a hybrid. So our product was also going, and their product was also going parallelly, something like that. So after finding out what we did, what this guy had done in order to encrypt his computer, we had absolutely no choice but to, format his computer and start all over again. But let me tell now, this is something that can happen to anyone in any country, in pretty much anywhere. Okay, any situation, anywhere, and basically it can happen to anyone, even if you didn't do anything. Right? It's obviously wrong to that he pirated and did all these things sort of thing. But at the same time, it was pretty much wrong for him to find this vulnerability and do it. So one of the biggest problems here is that the users were not educated enough, and the users were not interested in following the rules enough. So let's say, what are the lessons that we can learn from this story? It's a simple story, it's a stupid story, but resolving this takes several days, because you get Microsoft involved, you have to upload the file, and so on and so forth. So here's a tool that I use, not just me, so many other people around the world, even much more technical competent than me, use. This is called virustotal.com. As you can see, There are files, URLs, and then you can even search for IP addresses and file hashes, and you can see if it's malicious or not. So I uploaded this file. So what I did was I did connect to the computer in a through Teams actually. So what I did was I asked the admin to connect a dongle to the computer, and then ask the user to log into his Teams. Okay. So, and I also logged into a Teams meeting, and then through a screen share, I was able to, guide him and guide the admin on what to do and what to click and so on and so forth. So we uploaded the file, and this is not the actual file. Again, this is not the actual file. This is just some random, screenshot that I grabbed off the internet. You will see that the results that you get from virustotal.com is very comprehensive, because you can see that there are altogether in this screenshot you will see that there are 71 security vendors. Out of these 71, 61 says that this specific file is malicious. So, so obviously, I mean, it doesn't take a genius to figure this out after the issue has happened. But let's say you are a user, you have got a file from someone, you don't know what to do, you don't know how to verify if this malicious or not. Then very simply go to virustotal.com and upload the file. Okay, and see what the results are. And if it says it's malicious, don't open it. I mean, delete it immediately. Another thing that you can do is, this is actually a Windows setting that exists inside of your computer. This is actually a Windows feature. This is called Windows Sandbox. All you have to do is click on this Windows Sandbox and OK it, and then reboot the computer, and this feature will get installed. After that, you'll be able to open something called Windows Sandbox. If you don't know, or if you're suspicious about a certain application, you can copy that application to this. It's okay. So it's basically like a virtual machine, except that it's not persistent. If you close this sandbox and open it again, it's a brand new instance. Yeah. So just keep that in mind. So don't use it like you normally use a virtual machine. So if you have a application that you don't know if it's safe or not, copy it over to this sandbox, run it. If something does happen, it will happen to the sandbox and not to your computer. So, right. So in today's lesson, in this incident, what did we learn? So anyway, before that, there is something called a post-incident review. Some of you guys who are into ITIL and stuff might know this sort of thing. So a post-incident review is sometimes called post-mortem incident review, is a structured process for analyzing, documenting past incidents and learning how it happened, why it happened, what we could have done not to ensure that it didn't happen. And this is just not in IT security. This is pretty much in anything, in maybe your life, or even disaster recovery. If an application crashes, you're developing an application, all of it. You have a post-incident review. You might even have something called a war room where all the people go in, and you'll have a triage and you'll have a talk back with everything. Sometimes you might get incident managers, problem managers, all of those guys involved to try and find out what the RCA is, which is the root, and do a root cause analysis. So the lesson learned from this story is, be suspicious of all files downloaded from the internet, which is obvious. I don't need to say that. You already know that. Secondly, you need to have an up-to-date virus software, and some of you might ask why. Well, I would say it's for the same reason you lock your front door or your house gate. Because if you're so conscious about your physical safety, why are you not so conscious about your digital security? You should be. Because if you don't, you're bad. Now, I just want to tell you something else. That IT savvy guy whose computer got ransomware, he didn't get his files back. You know why? Because obviously we were not able to decrypt it because we don't have the key. Secondly, he had not backed up his most important files to the cloud. So all his work was gone. So now, as a best practice, as an IT admin, I'm not just talking about security here, I'm talking about disaster recovery if something happens. Let's say, you do get ransomware. Obviously, you're not going to be able to get the key. I mean, there are things that you can do before you get ransomware, like attack surface reduction and all that sort of thing, which I will get to in later slides. But let's say by God forbid, you get ransomware, there's nothing you can do. It was a 0-day hack. What are you going to do? So you need to prepare for that, and you have to assume that you've been breached. You have to expect to be hacked in this day and age. So then you have to back up your, so the solution is you back up all your files and folders onto OneDrive, and OneDrive will have a versioning system. Okay, so what you can do is, now say you got hacked today and all your files got, encrypted. You can go back to yesterday's version and you can restore it. Okay, so that's the kind of solutions that you can give off the top of my head. And so you don't need to worry about ransomware. In fact, if you go to defend of your computer right now and you click on ransomware protection, right underneath there, it says, Microsoft says, use OneDrive. Okay, so that's point number 3 as well. Have a backup of your data in the cloud with version control. Expect to be hacked or ransomware at any time, at any time of the day, any time, and change your mindset regarding security. Right. Okay. Now, I think lots of Sri Lankans can identify with this next horror story that I'm going to talk to you about. So this is a smishing story. Okay. For those of you who don't know, smishing is SMS phishing. And this is where, how many of you have got any alerts like this? Look at it closely. There's no number. There's just a name. And it says, congratulations. Okay, I'm just going to translate here to English. It says here that you have won first place and I have won 100,000. I can get a free loan from this link. I'll read it again. I have won first place in what? I didn't enter any contest. I have won 100,000 in a loan. I've won a loan apparently. Okay, I don't know. So all this person, they want me to click on this link. Now, don't worry, I didn't click on this link. This is actually a real, actual screenshot from me. So you don't need, this is not someone else, this is mine. So I don't have a problem sharing this. I'm sure thousands of people who have got the same SMS. So this is what I did. Right. So I went to VirusTotal. I plugged in this link over here, and I went into details. Now, you would think that this link would be something not so suspicious. It doesn't look so, it doesn't have anything bad in it. But if you go in, but you will see that 2 out of 96 vendors say that this is actually malicious link. If you go into details, you will see that eventually this URL gets redirected to this URL. Can you see that? It gets redirected to this URL. So this is the reason why you say don't reply to those SMSs, because if you do reply to those SMSs, they know someone, actual person is behind that who is desperate to, to get a loan. He's financially insecure, so he wants a loan. So never reply to those SMSs, never reply to those emails as well. Right. And this is enough. And if you check this link as well, this is also a malicious link. And here, Bitdefender and Fortinet all say that this is a phishing link. So you can understand that this person wanted to, try to harvest our details, hack your phone. So you have to be very careful about this. So fortunately, I checked all of this and I didn't proceed. But this is something important for you guys, because I'm sure about 99.9% of you would have received the same, if not a similar SMS from lots of people. If this is another example, in this case, the final URL doesn't change, but still it's malicious, right? So what lessons can we learn from here? You need to be suspicious of all SMSs that you receive from people you don't know. Do not click on any links from SMSs that you don't know. Okay, even if you do, you must have an antivirus software on your phone. I repeat, on your phone, because you all know about how links are being checked on your like on your computer, and malicious links are checked with regards to Defender and all that sort of thing. But we are very lax when it comes to a mobile phone, and there's a story related to a mobile phone that I'll get to later as well. But if this antivirus software that you install, it must scan all your links before opening them. And if it finds that it is malicious, the antivirus should actually block going to that URL as well. Number 4, if it sounds too good to be true, it's probably a fake or a scam. How many of you have got a SMS saying that you are eligible for a loan at 0.1% interest? Is that even possible? Yeah, who would give you a loan at a better rate than the bank? Okay, let me just go back a couple of slides. read this all over again. It's in, I know it's they've used English characters, and but actually it's been written in Sinhalese. So this has to be a Sri Lankan person who's doing this. It's not some outside entity in some far off country. Someone in Sri Lanka who's tech savvy, who's IT savvy, is doing this, and he's playing on the financial insecurity of people. So let me okay. So so if it sounds too good to be true, don't. I mean, you may think who'd ever fall for some scam like this? I know it was in one of my previous companies. One of it wasn't someone who was working in my team. It was a different unit altogether. That individual's family member had fallen victim to this loan scheme and investment scheme and cryptocurrency scheme, and had lost about, let me see, about 300 or 400,000 rupees. It's a fact. That's a real figure, by the way. Okay, that's what she told. That individual told me that that the family member had lost. So that's a lot of money. So you need to. So there are people who fall for this. They're desperate. Economy is such. So they fall. They have a tendency to fall for these scams. Another thing is refrain from giving your number to unnecessary entities. For example, there are certain restaurants or certain hospitals or places. When you go, the first thing that they ask is your phone number. And I probably did this mistake, and that's why I got called just 2 hours ago from that woman asking, "Hello, Mr. Azoor, is this a good time to talk to you? We wanted to take a survey based on what you did, what you purchased last time." So if possible, I know it's not always possible because sometimes some places they give your bills to your phone through WhatsApp. So you have to give your number. But as much as possible, refrain from giving out your number to unnecessary entities so that, because the thing is this, once your number goes out, that database gets shared with so many people, data brokers, and all that. That's not today's topic. That's a whole different topic altogether. They will sell your data, your personal details and all that. Let me tell you about another story that happened to me in 2018. I once got a call from a person. He knew my first name, he knew my last name, he knew my age, he knew where I worked, and he also knew what my designation was. And then he asked me, "Sir, are you willing to invest in?" And he mentioned a whole bunch of companies in the stock market. And so I asked him, "How did you know? Who gave you my number?" And he was very evasive because obviously it would have gone out from somewhere. Some data broker would have taken it, sold my data to someone right here in Sri Lanka, and that guy knew my first name, my last name, my designation, where I work, and he also knew this. He would have also known that I would have some amount of savings in order to invest, because I mean he would not waste his time on someone who doesn't have any money to invest, right? So that's something that you need to worry about. And I didn't get a call once, I got a call twice from two different companies about the same thing. So be careful. Okay, now I have something. Before we go further, I want you to do a small self-assessment of yourself. I want you to answer these questions about yourself. Is this you? Do you use digital banking? Check mark. Pretty much everyone does. Are all the banking and financial apps that you have subscribed to installed on your phone? Okay, that's, some people, they're a bit worried about it because not everyone wants to. I personally don't like to do that. Number three, do you also get the MFA for those banking and financial apps to the same phone? Do you? Think about it. If you lose your phone, do you lose access to your banking and financial apps? Because the thing is, vast majority of the people, if you ask them to sign into their bank account through their bank login on the desktop, they can't. They can't remember the username, they can't remember the password. It's true because they're so addicted to the phone and they're so used to doing transactions through the phone. So if they lose access to their phone, they lose access to their bank transactions and everything related to their bank. They have to physically go all the way to the bank or call them and tell them to freeze everything. Do you know how to contact your bank in case of financial emergency? Let's say you got an alert to your phone saying that so much money was withdrawn from your account. Do you know how to contact your bank? Or will you just call the number that you get through an SMS? Because there are sometimes you get these scam SMSs. Nothing's wrong with your bank. So an SMS comes saying that so much of money was withdrawn from your account and call this number in order to secure your account. So the person who sent you that SMS is pretending to be your bank. And the problem is that you don't know what is the correct number to contact your bank. So that's a problem. So let's say you lost your phone and you wanted to contact your bank, do you know what number to call? I mean, obviously, you're going to have it written down on a piece of paper or something like that. Okay, moving on. Is the bank account that you do digital transactions with the account with the most amount of cash? Or do you have a separate bank account in a separate bank dedicated only to do digital transactions? Because this way you separate your bank accounts. Okay, there's one bank account that's your main bank account that your salary goes into that. Most of your money is there. That's in one bank account in one bank. So in a completely different bank, I'm not talking about two different branches in the same bank. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about two different banking institutions like Bank A and Bank B. Okay, so Bank A is your main account that has most of your money, and Bank B is your second account. So Bank B is what you has a small amount of money. It has about it depends. You can differ as to how much you want to. It all depends on how much you want to lose. So if you say you're okay with losing 100,000 and you're okay with it, so you put 100,000 there and you do banking transactions with that 100,000. Okay. So 7, have you not set daily and per transaction limits on your account? This is actually something that you can do. Most of you don't know. There's actually a limit. Per day, you can do this much of transactions through your bank, this much of transactions through your card, through POS, point of sale, and so on and so forth. And it's actually control. You can actually set those limits if you want. Or there are already limits, I'm pretty sure. And if you want to change those limits, sometimes you can even go to the bank. Sometimes it depends on the bank. Some banks have different regulations. So let's say you did lose your card, like I did. I lost my card, but God forbid it was taken up by someone and he went on a spending spree. How much would he have been able to spend in one day at most before the card got declined? Exactly. So you need to do this. Number 8, have you not disabled online transactions and post transactions in your main bank account? So the thing is, now when you put all your money, or should I say, all your eggs in one basket, what happens is that you have centralized all your money. So if this gets hacked, that's it. Your life savings are gone. So what you have to do is you have to isolate, and you have to secure that main bank account. So how people can do it is, one way is that you can say that any kind of online transactions is blocked. So if someone knew my account number and all my banking details, and he typed it in on Amazon.com, so the main bank of people who like to keep it secure, the transaction will not even go through in the first place, because it's barred from doing online transactions or past transactions. So these, take a screenshot of this. This can help you quite a long way. And these are basic things, by the way. Okay, so talking about the points that about previously, is the phone that has banking apps installed and the phone that gets the MFA for those banking apps, are both of them the same phone? Because if it is, it's going to be problematic. Because you see, if assume that your phone gets hacked. Okay, let's assume this is the same phone. Your phone has these banking apps installed, and the MFA is also comes to this phone. What happens if this gets hacked? The hacker has access to your MFA. That's what you basically have done. You created a situation where you, just by losing your phone, but just by your phone being compromised, you've compromised your financial situation. So the phone that has banking apps installed and the phone that gets the MFA for those banking apps must be two different phones. And how you should, I mean, if you are going to use banking apps, you can install the application on a smartphone and use a dumb phone to get the MFA in the form of an SMS. Okay, so it's like this. All the tips and tricks and stories that I'm telling you doesn't give you 100% security. No one can say that I'm never going to be hacked. There's no such thing as that. There are no guarantees in life except, I don't know, dying, I suppose. You can take all the precautions you want, but at least, if let's say you did get hacked, if you followed all of these procedures, at least you have the satisfaction of saying, at least I tried doing something. I did the best from my side. So something like that. Moving on. Okay, so the bank you do online transactions with and your main bank account that has the most amount of money, are these the same bank? If it is, then that's problematic, because if you're somehow or other someone was able to do unauthorized online transactions, then they can pretty much move all your money out of the bank. Instead, do this. So the main bank account that has the most amount of money is a different bank. And the one that you do online transactions with is a different bank, different account. Okay? Right. Back to our story time. So this is about QR code phishing. Okay. So basically, you all know about where links get sent to you, and vast majority of those links don't actually come through these days because Microsoft Defender, with its anti-spam policies and all that sort of thing, is very good at blocking these things. So the hackers are, they're thinking it in a different way. Now, just okay. Once again, this is not a real incident that I handled. It's just some screenshot I got from the internet. It has the Microsoft logo on it, so it looks very authentic. It says your password now this has been blurred, expires on Monday. Please do the following in order to keep receiving emails. Scan this QR code. How many of you are aware that scanning a malicious QR code, that such a thing as malicious QR codes actually exist? So basically what happens when you scan that QR code is it will send you to a link. So some phones, they don't have safeguards where, so as soon as you scan the QR code, it goes to the link automatically. There are some ones that gives you the option whether to go to the link or not go to the link. And there are some phones, if you've actually installed the antivirus like I asked you to do on your phone, it will actually scan the link and tell you if the link is malicious or not before it goes. Okay, and if it is malicious and you accidentally did click on it, it's the job. Most of the time, the antivirus software on your phone will block that link. This is another common one. Facebook. I think I'm just going to speed up this a bit. So this Facebook won't send you these kinds of emails. Okay, always make sure to check the domain name of the emails that you get in order to verify if it's authentic or not. So the $1,000,000 question is, who are they? So if you look at this in the previous slides, if you look at the person who's sending those smishing emails, those are actually sent over by pretty much one. I'm pretty 100% sure it has to be a Sri Lankan guy, right? It has to be because it's written in the local language. It has to be a tech savvy guy. Now, in honesty, I try to go after these guys in a certain way. I contacted the domain owners. I found out where they were hosting their servers and the IPs, and to some extent, I managed to get it blocked. But the problem is that they will just use a different domain name, different server, and start all over again. Okay, so it's like playing whack-a-mole with those guys. So anyway, moving on. Right. Okay. So there is another story that I wanted to talk to you about that I didn't get the opportunity, but it's pretty much similar to that. It's about the manager who actually got his phone hacked. Right. So that senior manager, I can't tell you where he is. He actually was going on a business trip. Okay. He was part of the board of directors. He was going on a business trip. All he did was in that foreign country, he connected his smartphone to the public Wi-Fi in the airport. And within a short period of time, his phone got hacked. And pretty much they took over his phone. And what happened was this nightmare scenario that I talked to you about. So since his phone has the banking apps installed and the MFA also installed, the hacker can do anything he wants. And all these bank accounts from all his banks, I repeat, all his bank accounts from all his banks are in one phone. And the MFA for all those bank accounts also come into the exact same phone. So since the hacker has hacked the phone, he has everything he needs to do, any transactions. All his bank accounts were compromised. Fortunately, he only lost a small amount of money. Someone had used one of his bank accounts at AliExpress and had bought something for about $500. Considering the amount of money he's worth, $500, $500, I think. Yeah, $500. I mean, it's still some amount, but considering the damage it could have been, it's something. So that, I mean, by the time I came into the picture, it was much late. So there was pretty much nothing I could do except to ask him to block connections to all networks and contact his banks and put a freeze on all his bank accounts, and then format the phone, reinstall the OS all over again, and start using this. Actually using a dumb phone like Nokia, like one of those old cheap Nokia is perfectly fine, because even if you get a phishing link to this, there's no way to open it because this doesn't have a web browser. So going old tech or retro tech has its advantages, just so you know. Okay, so that's a pro tip. It's not a pro tip, but it's something worth thinking about. Okay, so Microsoft Defender for Endpoint. So now the normal phase is over. Now we're going a bit fast over to the technically more higher things that I wanted to discuss, which was Microsoft Defender for Endpoint. So you'll notice here, how can Microsoft Defender for Endpoint mitigate these threats? Okay, so Microsoft Defender for Endpoint has attack surface reduction, next generation protection, and so many things: endpoint detection and response, auto investigation and remediation. It can automatically detect, and it can actually quarantine files, folders, so on and so forth. Right. Okay. Here we go. Here's attack surface reduction. So now attack surface reduction is exactly what it sounds like. Right over here, let me see. Lock. Okay, here we go. So can you see this? So attack surface reductions is actually something that you can implement on your computer as well. It's just a couple of commands. It's just a group policy that you can put, and even through normal commands as well. You can put these advanced protection against ransomware, and it won't mitigate everything, but it will mitigate lots of things. So this is one aspect of one aspect of global or a wider security solution. So let's say, for those of you who don't understand what attack surface reduction is, let me explain. Let's say you have a house. You have a dog inside the house and you have a dog outside the house. Pretend that the dog inside your house is your antivirus. What happens when an intruder comes inside your house? That's what the antivirus does, right? So if there's an antivirus and there's an intruder inside your home, that dog is supposed to take care of it. But the dog that's outside your house, that's attack surface reduction rules. That dog is supposed to stop all, well, not all, there's no such thing as complete security, right? It's supposed to stop most of those threats from coming inside the house in the first place. Let me quickly explain a few things here. I won't explain everything because due to lack of time, but let's just let's say we are going to block Office applications from creating executable content. So if you're blocking Office applications from creating executable content, then there's nothing for you to scan, nothing for you to do, nothing for the antivirus per se to do, right? Because you've already put a rule saying, okay, Office applications can't create more executable content. You can't create more child processors. So what is there to do? What is there for the antivirus to do? Because it's stopped at the ASR level. Okay, so I'm gonna go through real fast because of the lack of time. I think we're gonna stop in another 5 minutes, I guess. Okay, so it's a very simple thing. It's very easy to turn on. You can do it through endpoint, Microsoft Defender for Endpoint. You can do it through Intune actually, or group policy. You can also, in Microsoft Defender for Endpoint, you also have network protection. So basically, if it's going out to a malicious link, it can actually block that. Web threats are also blocked by Microsoft Defender for Endpoint, but you need to configure them properly. These are web threat reports. You can see that you can actually get the URLs that the users are going to. You can see a graph with the statistics, and also you can also block these web contents. So basically, another way that we block the user from going to those ransom sites where he actually downloaded that ransomware is through here. So after this, we categorized based on this category, he was actually blocked from going to those websites in the first place, so he couldn't actually download that file. So this is one of the things that we did after the incident happened. This is the reporting regards to it. Tamper protection. Okay, tamper protection is basically where you are not allowed to even change the settings in the Defender for Endpoint security center in the first place. So if you put tamper protection in place, the common ordinary user, even if he has admin rights, will not be able to change it. So that as a security admin, you should implement that from Defender for Endpoint as well. Advanced hunting. This is to find more information from incidents and issues that you don't get usual alerts from. So you can actually create custom queries to check on custom detections and do custom responses and so on and so forth. You can, but you need to know Custo query in order to do this. Live response. Okay, let's say that there is a computer right now that's hacked. Okay, and you want a secure way to go to that computer. So one way to go through is live response. Okay, it's a bit slow. Okay, it depends. It's actually got a lot faster since I first started using it, but it has its own commands. Right here, you will see that in this graphic, you can actually connect to a computer, you can run commands, and you can remediate threats in a secure terminal environment without compromising my own computer. Okay, so that's live response. Microsoft Secure Score, what is that? Okay, when I say that my Office 365 environment is secure, and another admin says that his environment is secure, that's a subjective thing, right? How are we going to know if this is secure and that is secure? It's you and I were just arguing and saying, no, I'm just more secure than you are. So, for you to properly understand what your situation is, Microsoft has taken certain settings, certain features, and they have actually given you a numerical score, and you can see the score right over here. This secure score is 47.23. So the next time you meet your colleague and you ask him, hey, what's your secure score? So if he says, oh, I'm 85 and I'm still 47.23, then obviously that he's more secure than I am. So so that's what this Microsoft Secure Score is supposed to be able to help you and help you to understand what you should do next. So here you can see the organizations like me have 46 out of 100. I mean, this is just a rough example, right? 47.2. So it's not by much. So there's a lot of improvement that needs to be done in this environment. Finally, when you're going to do all of these changes in your environment, remember there are two paths that you have to go. I tell this to my clients all the time. The most secure system in the world is not user friendly. The most user friendly system in the world is not secure. Okay. Now, if you want that things to be so user friendly, you don't need a security guard or access controls. You just need the door wide open. People can come and steal anything they want. So that's a security problem. But at the same time, if you put all the restrictions, all the security guards, all the cameras, and fingerprint scanning, all that, it's going to take you a long period of time to get through the door, and it's going to be very troublesome. So these are two different extremes. You need to find a middle path which is more slanted towards IT security, because more security that you have, it's better for you, right? Okay, so that's what I tell my clients all the time. Finally, I think we are nearly out of time. I think we have to stop exactly in another 8 minutes or so. But I wanted to open this up if there are any questions, if there are any follow-ups. Now would be the time. Do we have any questions there?
So
Sure.
Abdullah, thank you so much for the insightful session. I think we have one question on the chat. What is the recommended antivirus app for mobile phone, and it is free or commercial?
Okay, so I am always reluctant to as a professional, I'm very reluctant to like give say stuff like that, because it boils down to a flame war. I would say that you need to go through Gartner's Magic Quadrant. I mean, okay, for those of you who don't know what Gartner's Magic Quadrant is, Gartner's Magic Quadrant is something like an industry-wide institution that we use as a benchmark to measure if a certain product is good or not. For example, if there's a device management software, is it Intune or is it AirWatch or all that kind of thing? So I would say one good way to check would be Gartner's Magic Quadrant. And another thing would be you pay for what you get what you paid for. So if you downloaded a free software that no one has ever heard of, you are actually probably downloading malware. So be very careful whenever you download these mobile apps through whatever store. Be very careful. And paid ones are obviously better than free ones. Those are the recommendations that I can give you. I can't give a name per se. So that's what I can say, Vishwa.
Thank you, Abdullah. Are there any other questions from the attendees? I think it was a very practical.
Yes. If Can you hear me, Vishnu?
Yeah, I can hear you,
Okay, great.
Abdul.
Okay. So great. So if I think if
Yeah,
there are any further questions, I think we can conclude for today's DigiConnect episode 6.
yeah. So it seems like these are the questions that we have, and we have shared the, I think, the links with the attendees, the person who has asked the question.
Okay,
And
go ahead.
so, yeah, so this brings us to the final ending of this episode. And thanks again, Abdullah, for these insightful sessions, which are very practical in our day-to-day life. And hope uh, you guys are leaving with a very practical insights that you can, use it for your phone, your home PC, and stuff like that. And stay tuned for our future episodes with DigiConnect. And have a great evening.